Got it. All right, everybody, welcome tonight. We've got a great evening planned. Thanks for showing up here on a Monday for foundation planning training. And I'm going to turn it over now to our former district governor, Mr. Del Green. Take it away, Del.
Aloha. Thank you very much, Benson. And aloha and welcome for being here. It's a good thing I have a really good team this year because for some reason I thought this meeting started at 6, but I've been told that it actually started at 7. So thank you for being here when I wasn't going to be. I'd like to begin actually, and I apologize. I thought it was on top of everything and I seem to have lost my PowerPoint. So in any event, the first thing I wanted to do was to begin with some introductions of our team. And I'd like to, first of all, recognize that this is not a training session. This is a planning meeting. It's a planning meeting for our club foundation chairs, our club trainers, our club presidents, to let you know about some things that are happening in the very near future in the area of foundation. Just around the corner, we have the World Polio Day coming up in October. We have the Foundation Month coming up in November. And so we wanted to have an opportunity to get in front of everyone to remind us that these things are coming up pretty quickly and to give us an opportunity to plan ahead. To help us do that, we have a pretty amazing foundation team, which I'll go ahead and recognize at this point. I wanted to go ahead and get the opportunity to see everybody to make sure that if some of our foundation team members are here tonight, that I'd get a chance to recognize them. So if I miss somebody, please speak up. But I'm going to start real quickly with Mark Harbison, who is our vice chair and is also head of our grant section. So thank you, Mark, for being here. Well, actually, let me take a step back. We have our district governor, who's basically my boss, Sandy Matsui. Sandy, you're there, right? She is. So moving along, we have Mark Harbison. We have Dick May with Foundation Annual Giving. We also have with us Wynn Shoneman, who is our Endowment and Major Gift Chair. We have with us the ever exciting Roz Cooper, who is in charge of Polio Plus. In the area of alumni, I'm not sure if Steve Dyer was able to make it. He was going to, but he wasn't quite sure. But working with him, we do have Naomi Masuno, who I know is with us this evening. Thank you, Naomi, for being here. Also in the area of under the grant section, we have with us our grant stewardship chair, who is none other than Laura Steelquist, my predecessor and my forever mentor. And I believe also in the area of foundation grants, we have Arjun here as well. And did I miss anybody? I hope not, but so I don't think so. So I am actually restarting my Zoom connection, and Benson's going to let me in, and I'm not going to play with this trying to share I'm trying to see everybody at the same time kind of thing, because that created some problems for me. Thank you, Benson, for letting me in again. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen this time. Again, and we'll start right into it. So thankfully we have, oops. Okay, well, I'm having technical difficulties. I apologize.
Okay, you're good, Del.
Yep. Okay. So there's my team. Mark your calendars. These are some of the things that came up pretty quickly. In just a couple of weeks, we're going to have our Foundation 101 and grant qualification on Saturday, September 11th. This is a training meeting on this date, so please come prepared. After that, we'll have Foundation 201, which will be a deeper dive into some of the foundation topics. After that, in October, we'll have Let's End Polio Now. I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about that from Ross Cooper when she gets a chance to speak. And then, excitingly, on October 24th, World Polio Day, followed by Foundation Month in November. So please mark those things on your calendar. And then following that, next February, on the 5th, we'll have a foundation dinner. So that's it for the calendar of events. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dick May, who's going to talk to us about the annual fund. Dick?
Thank you very much. Got it. Well, you know, we Rotarians are the beating heart that keeps this organization going. And the donations we make to the foundation are that blood that courses through the veins of the organization and lets us do the good work we do. Annual giving is a big piece of that. If you'll go to the next slide, please. This is the annual fund team. I'm the new guy on the team, actually. I'll also do the major donor chair. And I'm looking for good qualified Rotarians who would be interested in chairing the Paul Harris Society, as well as the Rotary Direct Chair reporting to our group. I am blessed by having Sally Blanchard, very experienced as our White Hat Chair, and Dave Mosdrin, my go-to guy when I get stuck on anything, as our Triple Crown Chair. So that's our team. All right, our plan is fairly simple. We're going to work with each club in a supportive role. I plan to travel to as many clubs as I possibly can. I'm not at all risk averse for travel. I'm vaccinated, but if COVID gets a vote, and so does the state, so we may do a certain number of Zoom meetings, but however we will work it, we would like to work with you in your club, look at what's unique in your club, its history, composition, giving history, and challenges, and come up with options for your success, and then support you and celebrate your success. We've got all of us on this team reporting to Dell have identified a bunch of resources, which you'll see shortly, that you can go to, and we'd like to get as many of you trained as possible. So as we go through the year, we're going to recommend Club Foundation become, familiar with certain available tools. They'll be covered in greater length later on, but clearly this is how you get there. Next slide. We recommend these two courses. There are other good courses, and there are other areas within the foundation that will drive those. But if you're working for the foundation at the club level, these are two of the great courses to take. Those in the Leadership Academy are taking these, but I recommend them for anybody. Thank you. We're going to do an incentive giving program. This is a draft, and I programmed this for the top 10 clubs. The driver behind this is that some clubs always have a great giving history. Some clubs give less. Obviously, the club demographics make a difference, but other things beyond individual members' control might. You might have someone who has left a large endowment to the club, or one or two well-to-do individual donors. That doesn't necessarily mean that each and every member of your club has bought in as a member of EREY and gives regularly. And that's what we'd like to do, is incentivize clubs to do the things you can see here. To do that, we're going to offer an incentive program. These are the criteria we're suggesting right now. And we would run this through probably through the end of April, so that at our May district conference, we can award certificates to the top 10 clubs, and we can award them a crisp $100 bill. I've underwritten this with a $1,000 donation, but I have to tell you that at the ELT meeting on Saturday, Doug Adams generously offered to chip in too. So we may do more clubs or larger donation. This is a work in progress. And if you as clubs would like to suggest criteria that we use, let us know. We'd like to make this a little bit exciting, a little bit of a way to recognize clubs for growth in the areas where maybe they haven't been strong before. Okay, do I have another slide, Dell, or am I done now?
No, that was it. And thank you, Dick, for doing
Okay,
that.
I'm gonna, give me,
Appreciate your time.
give me 30 seconds. Everybody's gonna talk about this, you'll talk about it later, but my 2 cents on Raise for Rotary. Okay, you'll hear more about that. Everybody who donates to the foundation doesn't have to be a Rotarian. Everybody who works on our good projects isn't a Rotarian. We go out into the community, we find projects, we invite interested people to share our views. They work with us. They give their time and talent. And some of them become Rotarians because they like what we do. You can establish a way that those neighbors, those friends can contribute to a fund that goes into Rotary. All the areas of service, with the exception of the environment, which is in work right now, into each of the funds. And you get credit for that. So there'll be more details coming, but it's an exciting way to build our donations. Thanks, Dale, I'm done.
Thank you, Dick, for sharing that bit of information as well. And we're going to move right now on to Polio Plus.
Hi, and good evening, everybody. It's great seeing everyone. I want to say hi to my committee out there who are doing a great job at putting information in the chat. I'm going to go fast because I've got some information to share. Rotary has been battling what is their most difficult, most challenging, and most fierce battle in history, and that is eradicating polio, especially at this time. Polio, as you may or may not know, is a paralyzing and potentially fatal disease that primarily threatens children under the age of 5 and invade the nervous system, potentially causing total paralysis. Polio can be prevented by vaccines, but it's not curable. Rotary conducted its first polio immunization campaign in the Philippines in 1979 and launched its Polio Plus program in 1985 with a goal to raise $120 million by 1988. That was the promise that we made to the kids. By 1998, Rotary members had not only raised 120 million, but they had also more than doubled it, raising 247 million for polio immunization. What a catastrophic time that was. At that time, there were 350,000 cases of polio every year in 125 countries. Today, there are 2 in 2 countries. I have a question to ask, and if you could respond in the chat, that would be that would be nice. If you could tell me, what do you think Rotary achieved? How do you think Rotary achieved this level of success? Anyone, just put what you think. It could be 1 word, 2 words, or a sentence. Okay, don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna tell you. Rotary's main role in polio eradication is fundraising. Fundraising to support the implementation of polio eradication activities. It's also advocacy with donor governments who also provide funding on the global polio eradication initiative. Advocacy with polio affected governments to ensure polio eradication remains a priority, and polio has to stay a priority. Raising awareness about the benefits of vaccination against polio and the need to finish the job. Volunteer engagements, including direct participation into polio campaigns, is also needed. To date, Rotary, you have raised over $1.6 billion and countless volunteer hours to the global effort to eradicate polio. And today, 19.4 million people who otherwise would have been paralyzed are walking due to those efforts that you have made. So I thank you for that. Rotary has a fundraising partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. The Gates Foundation matches to every $1 Rotary raises up to 50 million per year, resulting in $150 million that is granted to the World Health Organization and UNICEF to carry out essential polio eradication activities. In the last 3 years, despite this global pandemic, Rotary has reached its fundraising goal of $50 million and has received the full match from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Without you and your support, this would not have happened. So thanks to you, it did. It is important for Rotary to meet the fundraising goals so that critical polio eradication activities can continue. Rotary funds the following activities that are core to polio eradication. The vaccine with which to immunize the children. I think I have a chart on that down. The next one. I think. Anyway, support the delivery system to get vaccines to children, raising awareness in communities about the importance of vaccination and the opportunities to get vaccinated, the surveillance system that is critical to detecting viruses, and technical experts in the polio affected and high-risk countries to guide polio eradication efforts. That's the plus part of polio, which is the core of polio eradication. So when we talk about Polio Plus, we know that we are eradicating polio, but do you realize how many other benefits this program brings? It might be a hand-operated tricycle, or access to water, or additional medical supplies, additional medical treatments, bed nets, soap. A 2010 study estimates that vitamin A drops given to the children at the time of the polio vaccine has prevented 12.5 million deaths by decreasing susceptibility to infectious diseases. And of course, surveillance systems, which detect the new cases of polio and determines where and how they originated, so we can get rid of it, or we can know how to study it. So I thank you, and I ask you to continue your giving to these efforts to eradicate polio. And there are 5 reasons why we should continue this effort. 1 is your gift will improve lives. Today, 19 million people who would otherwise be paralyzed by polio are walking, and 1.5 million who would have otherwise died are alive. Your gift will invest in the future. If all eradication efforts stopped today, within 10 years, polio could paralyze as many as 200,000 children a day. A year. A polio-free world will be a healthier world for children everywhere. Number 3, your gift will improve child health. Polio surveillance networks and vaccination campaigns also monitor children for other health problems like vitamin deficiency and measles, so they can be addressed sooner. Your gift will lower healthcare costs. The global effort to eradicate polio has already saved more than $27 billion in healthcare costs since 1988, and expects to save 14 billion more by 2050. Number 5, your gift will make history. Polio eradication will be one of history's greatest public health achievements, with polio following smallpox to become only the 2nd human disease eradicated from the world. At the end of 1980s, more than 350,000 children were paralyzed by polio every year. Today, you, Rotary and its partners, have reduced the incidence of polio by 99.9%. However, until we see the last of the polio virus, eradication efforts need additional funding. Funding to immunize more than 400 million children against polio each year. Funding to improve disease surveillance systems to detect any polio virus in a person or the environment. Number 3, polio funding to hire more than 150,000 health workers to go door to door to find each child. So let's support Polio Plus by becoming Polio Plus Society members and committing to giving $100 a year until the world is certified polio free. To be certified polio free means that all countries in that area must demonstrate the absence of the wild polio virus transmission for at least 3 years. 3 consecutive years in the presence of certification standard surveillance. If we continue on the path we are on with no new cases, we can be certified polio-free by 2024. Now that may seem like a long time, but look at where we were in 1980. More than 350,000 children paralyzed each year to where we are today. 2 cases with no new cases and no new positive environmental samples for more than 7 months now and counting. In the chat box is a link to become a member of the Polio Plus Society. We need you. Sign up this evening. Your $100 become $300. So thanks for your support and for helping end polio now.
And with that, we're going to thank you, Roz, for that wonderful presentation. We'll move now to endowment and major gifts with Wynn Schoeneman. Wynn.
Wow, Roz, that was great. Take a bow. Take a bow. Can we play the video, Del?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
I think so. Oh, shoot.
Seems like there's a lot of moving parts in the Rotary Foundation. Polio Plus is obviously our #1 priority. The annual fund plays a starring role in all of our clubs. And the endowment fund really plays a key supportive role in ensuring that funds are available, regardless of where we might be in an economic cycle. The endowment fund provides earnings each and every year to fund Rotary initiatives while maintaining or growing the value of each original gift. Next slide, please. No, next one, previous one.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. There we go. And so gifts that are marked share return those annual funds, annual earnings as district designated funds. So we have outright gifts, we have endowed gifts, 2 different ways to give to the endowment fund. Outright gifts, cash or publicly traded securities or real estate now, or endowed gifts, or I call it testamentary gifts through a bequest, will, or trust. And these funds help us to even out the economic cycle. Next slide, please. And so with the return of district designated funds from endowed funds marked share, I'm pleased to inform you that the District Governor Sandy and the Foundation Committee has authorized the return of $7,500 in an endowment fund grant or competitive grant. The goals of this grant are to increase awareness and contributions to the endowment fund, increase our community and youth service impact, and enhance public awareness of our clubs, wherever they may be. Obviously, details are to follow, but a key date you'll want to put on your calendar is that applications for this grant will be due by November 1st. Last thing I'd like to add to this is that, yes, Polio Plus is important. The annual fund is important, but the endowment fund should be an important part of every club's project funding. And I'm done.
Okay, well, thank you. And Wynn, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're encouraging everyone, if they can, to support the endowment fund with a bequest of at least $1,000. If they can, to support polio with a contribution of at least $100 a year, preferably through Rotary Direct, so that we don't forget. And then if we can, to support the annual fund with at least a contribution of $100, again, preferably through Rotary Direct. And if you've already done all three, great. If you've only done two of those three, we'd encourage you to do the third. If you've only done one of those three, then we'd encourage you to consider doing one or the other two you haven't done. With that, we're going to move on to foundation grants, and Mark Harbison is going to tell us what happens to that money. Mark?
Better unmute myself before I start talking. Here we go. So foundation grants, Del, let's go right into the content. So the foundation grants team, obviously I'm the district grant subcommittee chair. So I'm kind of overseeing all of the foundation grants. Dave Hemmel is in charge of district grants, and he's just submitted our district grant, by the way, with all of the clubs listed with, and Laura Silquist is clapping her hands because Laura Silquist and Naomi Masuno were key players in getting that district grant out. The two global grants chairs, co-chairs, James Ham and Arjun Aryal, they are absolutely key players in global grants. And I want to mention some people who are involved in key initiatives. New initiatives in global grants. One of them is Mariko Higashi from the Lahaina Sunset Club. Mariko brought in a grant for the Rohingya refugees at Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh last year. I'm looking forward to her bringing in all kinds of new ideas for coming up. Ari Radneva in the Honolulu Sunset Club has brought in a grant in Russia, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Moscow. And that grant was facilitated by the US-Russia intercountry committees. I don't know how many of you got up at 2 in the morning to see the Rotary Convention pre-convention, but the theme of that pre-convention was intercountry committees. And one of the most important ones is, of course, the US-Russia intercountry committee. And that grant came out of that group. So that is definitely a new initiative that we definitely want to follow up on. And I'm looking around at the gallery and I'm seeing so many people who should be mentioned. Jim Becker is here. He was instrumental in helping with our grants in Nepal last year. Murray Visser is the outgoing International Service Committee chair. Naomi Masuno is a key player on that committee and also global grants in general. Paul Moros is here. He's doing a fantastic new grant in Palau. Marian Vergara is here. Marian did a fantastic grant in the Philippines last year, one of the first global grants in the area of desalination. So when I identified this group as the team, just realized that there is a lot of expertise in our district and a lot of people bringing in new initiatives. And I shall not forget Dave Mosrin, who every year with Sam Kasemax brings in these great medical equipment grants in Northern Thailand. So shout out to Dave Mosrin as well. So let's go to the next grant. This is Ravi Rajendra. I think most of you recognize him. He is the outgoing chair of the Rotary Foundation trustees. Ravi is very active on Twitter, and I get a lot of my up-to-date information about the foundation from following Ravi's Twitter feed. And one of his latest tweets a couple of days ago, he said, "We're closed out the books on last year, and I'm very happy to report that we funded more than 2,000 global grants that empowered Rotary members around the world to take on projects they care about and make a difference in their communities." 2,000 global grants is unbelievable. It's absolutely outstanding. When we began the Future Vision program, the new grants model in 2007, we did 814 grants. So we have more than doubled that in 7 years. And the other thing that Ravi noted is that in spite of COVID-19, in spite of all the lockdowns, in spite of the ban on travels, in spite of all of the economic difficulties that we're encountering, Rotarians raised $440 million for the Rotary Foundation last year. That is unbelievable. It is the highest ever. Of course, it's a new record. So let's keep up the good work, and let's bring the money in, and let's bring the money into our district. Next slide, please. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of the information that we'll be referring to as we go along. First of all, I want to recommend that everybody take advantage of the District 5000 website. A lot of work has gone on into these website pages in the area of foundation grants. You could go to the foundation tab on Rotary District 5000. You can look at district grant information. You can look at global grant information, Polio Plus, the endowment fund. All of those websites are up there. And there's a ton of information, a ton of links, all to help you go forward with global grants, district grants, know your qualification requirements, know your allocations of funds, all of that is there. So use that website and get the information you need. I mentioned Dave Hamill. The district grant is in, thanks to Dave and Laura and Naomi and all of you for getting your grants in on time. We have 95 great new community service projects in our local community and in the world, thanks to all of you, and thanks for getting them in. So the district application is submitted, and we're ready to rock and roll. So let's talk about new foundation goals. Last year, we did not quite make $1 million in new global grants. This year, I want to make it and go beyond that. So at least $1 million in new global grants for the new Rotary year. A second goal, new global grants goal, I want us to engage with our sister district and also with our sister clubs to double DDF and cash from other districts and other clubs outside of our district for global grants. There is a new funding model for the World Fund. there's going to be less money coming from the foundation. We need to up our game in DDF and cash. And the only way to do that is to reach out to our sister clubs. I also want us to engage more with our strategic partners. Shelter Blocks, the Peace Corps, the Rotary Peace Fellows, Alumni Association, the Rotary Action Groups and Fellowships, and the inter-country committees. And like I said, Ari Radeva is reaching out to the inter-country committees. So is Win Shodeman. He is also active in the US-Russia inter-country committee. I'm going to be working with India and Japan to see if we can get inter-country committees going there. But these are all important sources for global grant ideas and also global grant funding. So let's go to the next slide and I'll wrap it up. So I have a couple of recommendations as well. As I said before, explore the foundation website on Rotary.org and also the Grant Center on Rotary.org. Again, tons of information, all kinds of links, and take 2 courses in My Rotary Learning Center. The 2 courses that I think are absolutely vital for grants is the Grant Management Seminar. Of course, we'll be doing our own qualification seminar, but the Grant Management Seminar on Rotary.org Learning Center is very comprehensive. It does not cover some of the details of qualifications we do in our district, but for a broad overview of the grants program, you cannot beat this Learning Center course. And then finally, Rotary's areas of focus. As you know, the Rotary, promoting peace and conflict resolution is a relatively new area of focus, and also the new area of focus, environment. And we will be able to do global grants in the environment area of focus beginning this year, beginning July 1. So take a look at that course. It tells you what qualifies for each one of the Rotary, the areas of focus, what qualifies for scholarships, for global grants, for district grants, for volunteer training teams. So take a look at those courses and, you know, let's really make it happen in global grants this year. That's it for me. So let's.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Back to Del.
Thank you very much. So everyone, now is the Q&A section. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and open it up to Q&A. Now, what we're really trying to do here today was to remind everyone that October 24th is going to be World Polio Day. And between now and then, to be thinking about things that we can do to promote that event and also to create some excitement in our respective clubs. Additionally, just around the corner after that is Foundation Month in November, where we'll get a chance to highlight not only polio, but the annual fund, the endowment and major gifts area, foundation grants, alumni, foundation alumni, and all the different areas that the foundation is involved in. So we would like you to be able to do that. And so now I'd like to open it up to everyone to ask whether or not you have any questions on your mind, what it is that we might be able to help you with to help promote the foundation within your clubs and what have you. So anyone? And if you could all just maybe just help me identify people.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Hi, Mark. You know, our club has a small amount of district grant international funds. So what is the best way for us to use those funds? And I know it's a matching fund, but where, again, can you kind of let me know where I would go to get a list of all these projects and where, how do we give our monies to that project?
Should I take that one?
Go ahead, Mark, please.
Yeah. You know what? We have actually changed the procedures a little bit, and we'll be posting those and also talking about them on September 11th when we do the grants qualification seminar. But basically, we have until November 1st to make decisions about our grant DDF allocations. So the grants that we know about now, that we know are coming up, will be posted on the District 5000 website in a few days. We're still working on a few details for some of the ones that are coming in late. But those will be up on the website fairly soon. You do not need to make a decision because these are probably not the last we'll hear about global grants. I'm working on a global grant, another global grant for the refugees in Bangladesh, the Rohingya, who were driven out of Myanmar. And other people are working on things. So there will be more grants coming up. There are a couple of grants from outside our district that we're highlighting, particularly the one from the US-Russia Intercountry Committee. But we'll have more information on all of that, coming up in the next few weeks. As far as the mechanics are concerned, we'll get into that in the global grants training sessions.
Okay, so you're saying that I can go to the district website to see the projects that are in process?
Yes, they will be coming up in just, within a couple of days.
Okay, but by November 1st, the decision has to be made by the club to select a project? Is that what you
Yes.
said?
That's
Okay.
correct. And we have instituted a commitment letter so that give yourself time to talk to your board and give yourself time to talk to your president-elect, because both you and the president-elect have to sign the commitment letter.
But these projects are approved already by RI, right?
No,
Oh,
they're not.
okay,
by-
so what if we agree to, what if we select a project and then now it's not approved?
No, that will happen once in a while, and then you'll have a chance to move your money to a different grant. But what we're doing now is the grants that are going up on the website are ones that have been vetted by the International Service Committee and by the Foundation Grants Committee. And so, we are confident that they are viable global grants that will probably happen and that will probably be approved. So, you can invest in those grants with a lot of confidence. You don't have to you don't have to send your cash contributions in until the grant is approved. So if it's not approved, you'll have a chance to move your money to a different grant.
Okay, thank you.
So
Mark,
we
I have
did
a
get
quick question.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
submitted our grant in July and I haven't heard anything back, and our project is on the 12th of September.
Are
Can I
you
go
talking
ahead and
about
spend money or should I wait?
Are you talking about your district grant?
Yeah, my district grant.
Yeah, the thing is, the grant was submitted to the Rotary Foundation like a couple of days ago. So, once they make a decision and we get the check at the district, we will be sending out checks.
So if I go ahead and spend money next week, I won't get reimbursed for it?
Do not spend the money until you get it.
Okay. Well, we can't really do that because we have a lunch planned for the unsheltered, so we'll feed them anyway. We'll figure something else out.
We have a commitment, but we can take it out of something else.
Yeah, thanks, Heather.
Mark, we had a question in the chat that you might be able to respond to from Rich Proctor. He says, we've been approached by our sister club in Taiwan to support their global grant supporting Indigenous people in Taiwan. How do we do this and get recognition from RI or the district so it can be matched?
Yeah, I've been talking to people in your club about that. And basically, it works just like a grant in our district. You send your cash in, and we will identify in the grant application the DDF coming from District 5000. And so the Rotary Foundation consolidates all the money, and the project, of course, is going to take place in Taiwan. So the Rotary Foundation will do the Forex and send the money in Taiwanese currency to the club in Taiwan, and they will set up the bank account.
Thank you.
Your question,
And you
Rich?
will-
There you go.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You will definitely get credit at Rotary. If you want to get credit at the Rotary Foundation, put your project in Rotary Showcase, and you will get credit at the district level because we know all about this grant. It's a great grant, by the way.
Other questions, anyone? Mark, maybe you can tell us a little bit about this resource list that the District Rotary Foundation Committee is developing.
Actually, so all of the people you heard from today have submitted a list of links. And most of these links you can find on the District 5000 website or at rotary.org, but sometimes it's hard to find things on rotary.org. So we've compiled a 2-page list of links that will take you directly there. And these are kind of the ABCs of the Rotary Foundation. They will get you to the links for polio, for foundation giving, for promoting the foundation, all kinds of information about global grants, and lots and lots and lots of information about Polio Plus. And Roz has even given you some samples of posters and logos and Rotary backgrounds that you can use to promote Polio Plus. So look forward to that. That'll be coming up in a couple of days.
Thank you, Mark.
Question.
Go ahead,
Um,
Sharon.
September 11th is grant qualification. So is that where 2 people have to are required to join this meeting, a president-elect and the grant, whomever.
Yes.
Foundation chair,
Yes,
right? Is
actually.
September 11th.
So you need 2 people from your club to go, preferably the president-elect, and of course the president. The club trainer could go, the foundation chair, the international service chair, the community service chair, because we're also, qualifying for district grants. So, anyone who's interested in grants should come.
Okay, but 2, right? 2 is required.
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right.
And we'll be recording that webinar. So, if you can't get 2 people there, you can go back and review the webinar, and we'll, have an interview with me or with Dell or Wynn, and we'll get you qualified.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, we got another question in the chat from Adrian King. This time she asks, will there be a Zoom presentation of the various global grants for our club to consider? There are so many worthy. It's a challenge to pick one or more to support. I'd like to see presentations with photos of these various global grants. Is that possible? Mark, thoughts?
It is not possible to do presentations with photos because the grants haven't happened yet. We can, we will be posting photos and videos and all of that wherever available for grants that have already happened. The session that the International Service Team did on August 30th on Saturday actually introduced all of the global grants that we know about. But as I said, there are more global grants in the pipeline. So, you don't have to choose right away. But that PowerPoint will be up on the district grant, on the district website in the next couple of days.
Now, Mark, I believe one of the things that you were doing was preparing a Zoom presentation that clubs would be able to either present themselves or maybe present with your assistance. Does that presentation have anything about global grant opportunities?
Yes, yes, it does.
Like
Yeah,
what?
all of the global grants, as I said, all of the global grants we know about are in that PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other
And I
questions?
think Naomi has already posted the meeting on the district website, but the PowerPoint itself is also on the global grants page.
And this PowerPoint, by the way, this is something that if a club was interested in having it presented, they could present it and maybe with your assistance, or you might present it for them.
Yeah, definitely. Contact me and I'll be glad to come to a Zoom meeting, or as long as I don't have to fly.
Thank you.
So if you're
Other
doing a
questions,
hybrid,
anyone?
if you have a way to get me there by Zoom, I'll be glad to come in.
Thank you for doing that. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions.
I
So-
just saw in the chat a note from Naomi. Everyone take a look at that. For your district grants, you need to deposit your club cash that you're giving to that grant needs to go into your district grant, your dedicated district grant account. So go ahead and put the money in there so that when the checks are ready, you'll be ready to receive them.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? Before we turn it over to Benson, who started us off this evening. Benson?
Okay, that sounds good. So Naomi, do you want to take a minute and just explain the qualification piece, because that's a really important piece. Sharon brought it up, but I think you should emphasize it one more time, because this is a really important piece. So go ahead.
So you're talking about qualification for next year's grant, right? So the grant management training program that we're having on September 11th is where we need 2 people per hour document to be going to that webinar. So this is the grant management training. So one person should be your president-elect. Would be good to have a president nominee, but if not, then someone else. We would like to have also your treasurer or whoever is involved with the grant process, so they can learn about the process of documents keeping and how to do the applications, the reports, and how to manage that grant. And so this training is for next year's grant. So to be fully qualified, the president-elect needs to go 2 people to the training. There are 3 documents that need to be signed by the PE and the PN or someone else. Those documents plus the tax return confirmation for June 30, 2021 need to be submitted to Rotary, grants at rotaryd5000.org. So those qualification documents go there. They're due by January 31st. 3 documents, your tax return. So it would be really good for people to file their federal tax now and get that confirmation that the tax return was filed. Okay. Then to be fully qualified for next year, we need the final grant report by May 31st. And then the application for next year comes in at the end of the year.
Naomi.
And Naomi mentioned that the grant qualification is for grants next year, but I want to point out that if you have clubs that are interested in competing for the endowment grant and you're not currently qualified, you can attend this training and then you'll be eligible to participate in the endowment grant competition that we held in November.
Well, it's not only attending that webinar, it's also turning in the documents, the 3 documents, and submitting the tax return for 2020, the year 2020.
That's true. You have to be qualified, but your opportunity to get qualified will be in the upcoming grant qualification session.
Naomi, mention the email address again for submitting documents and district grant applications.
The grants at Rotary D5000 is the email address that you would use to
Yes.
submit the qualification documents, the tax return, grant applications go there, final reports go there. What else goes there? So all of the grant documents go into one email address, so it's all in one place.
Okay, are we good? Any more questions? Anybody else want to make any other comments? My dog's barking out here, which means it's 8 o'clock. So if there's no other comments or anything, we thank everybody for joining us tonight. This is an important planning session. If your club is going to be involved in it, and hopefully they all will be on the September 11th training, we'll see you there. Otherwise, thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys next time.
Can anybody who has questions remaining can stay on Zoom, because there are some other questions in the chat.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll give you guys a second to bug out. Everybody needs to leave, and then go ahead, Naomi, if you want to start working through the questions.
Okay, so the Zoom link, Janice is asking for the September 11th. So all of the Zoom links, when you go to the district website, on the left, there's the upcoming events. When you click on the title of that session, the Zoom link is in that in the title. So it opens up with the Zoom link, you just click it and you're into the session. Let's see, if you're going to be on Off Island, the video is also on the district homepage. On the right-hand side, there's a link for recorded webinars, and it will be in there. And I guess, I think Mark is also going to post that, the Zoom recording on the page for grants.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's the tax return confirmation. So what does it say? So to qualify for next year's grant, we needed, well, to qualify for this year's grant, we needed the June 30, 2020 tax return. That's to qualify for this year's grants. For next year, we need the federal tax return for June 30, 2021. And so all we need is the confirmation that it was filed. Okay, so so the qualification is you attend the 2 people at the webinar, submit 3 documents, do your tax return. That's for the basic part. And then at the end in May, we need the final grant report for this year, and then you're fully qualified.
Naomi, you always, everybody's talking about tax return, but we're talking about the GE tax return, right?
The federal tax return is what we have to have.
Federal tax return, but we don't file any taxes, right? We're a nonprofit.
You do, and you have been, Alan.
Okay, yeah, okay. I know somebody else has been doing it. That's why I'm always confused with that.
Filed 990s.
Okay, that's what it is.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
now the GE filing. Laura, do you want us to tackle that? So technically, we do need the GE filing that you did the summary at the end of the year. Okay, but some clubs don't do fundraising, because anytime you fundraise, you should be filing, even though you're a nonprofit, you still need to pay the GE tax. And so you technically should be reporting that, doing the summary at the end of the year, and also sending that the summary to the grants at Rotary D5000 as well.
Oh, okay. So the 2 tax returns are the 990 and the GE tax return.
Yep.
Both. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. And then there was a question from Marianne, are you still? Okay, Marianne Vergara, you were asking about the pledge forms. So do you want to ask Mark Harbison your question? So Mark, those pledge forms, does Marianne need to get it or are you getting it?
What was the question?
So for global grants, when you're asking for the pledge forms from the clubs that are pledging their allocation, okay, so are you sending out that pledge form or does Marianne send it out?
No. I will send it out. I will send it out, or the person who initiates the grant.
So Marianne, you okay with that? You're muted.
I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay. I think
Mark?
that was it.
Dave Mosford here. When the forms are filled out for those people that are pledging funds, will that be sent to each of the clubs that are sponsoring the particular global grant so that they have that as a record?
Yeah, you know what, we're going to have to get our logistics together on that, because basically I should get a copy and so should the person who is initiated the primary contact on the global grant. So Dave, you would get all of them. You know, James Ham would get all of his, but I would have all of them for all the grants.
Great, that's perfect. Thank you.
So I'll copy you on those when they come in.
Thank you.
And they need a
I'll
copy
have it-
in the folder, in the club folder with all of the documents. They need a copy in there so that
Yeah.
the years following, they know that they pledged.
Yeah. Yeah, and the reason the president-elect also has to sign is because of all the time it takes to get approvals. Some of these grants go into the following year before they're approved, but your pledge is still good. And the GDF is still good. So, you know, you need to make sure your president-elect is aware that they need to budget for that money. So that when we come asking for money, when the grant is approved, you don't say, oh, gee, we spent all of our money, we don't have any. Or we don't remember pledging that.
I learned that the hard way, Mark.
Yeah,
I learned that. I have Hamel now, we set it aside in the budget. It's
Yeah.
in the budget that we have to come up with our matching, so we don't have that problem.
exactly. So, yeah, and Mariana and I are struggling with that right now, as she said in the chat. You know, some of the clubs, you know, we're going to be doing a lot more training about how to send money in, where to send it, when to send it, all of that kind of thing. But the important thing is to make sure that you have sequestered those funds once you've made the pledge.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges that I've got, and I think others, is that there are so many worthy grants. And it's like, how do you pick? And it's like, well, what appeals to you? What,
Right.
you know,
don't
what is-
have, well, keep in mind, you don't have to pick one. You can
yeah,
do
I
more.
know. Well, that's the other challenge, is that you can either put all the money on one big bang or divide it up. And, you know, and I'm not interested in doing it just to get points, okay? That's not my, I don't care about that. I just, you know, if something is really hurting and needs money and they're not getting it, then I'd rather give it there and then just spread it all around. But I don't know. There's so many good ones, like the one out of Myanmar is very fascinating to me. But then I know that Arjun has some wonderful ones, and I've been, we gave stuff to him, and that deals with children and all that kind of stuff. And so that's appealing. So,
There's a great, and speaking of innovation, Arjun is doing, and Andy Chamberlain is involved in this grant as well from the Honolulu Sunset Club. But Arjun is doing a great Washington Schools grant, which is a new program in the Rotary Foundation. So the idea is that Washington Schools not only qualifies in the WASH area of focus, but also basic education and literacy.
Oh, I
Uh,
see.
Yeah, because
Oh, so
get-
that makes
what-
it more powerful or something if it's two areas of focus? I mean, I hadn't,
Right, yeah, the thing is that he has to identify one, so he will
Oh.
identify WASH in schools, but
Hmm.
but
And
one of the
A-
ways.
Mark, with respect to identifying more than one area of focus, isn't it true that they discourage that?
did they discourage it? Why would they do that?
Still discourage that, but it's amazing because the basic education and literacy Rotary Action Group did a 4-hour seminar on Washington schools. And precisely because one of the ways to get girls to come to school, especially in Muslim countries,
Yeah.
is to make sure they have separate toilets for boys and girls.
Yeah,
The girls have some privacy.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I just want to jump in and say, Adrienne, you bring up a wonderful opportunity because there are so many great grants out there that you look at that your club members can get excited about. And it's also a really good time to remind them that the way that you get the opportunity to have these matching dollars to put into these grants is that it's all comes back to the money that is donated through
Yeah.
the club to the Rotary Foundation. Because 3 years from now, half of that's coming back. If you look at the variation among the clubs for the dollars that they have to spend, it's all related to how much they
I
gave.
know.
And it's a good tie-in to get your members excited about, if I give more, I can support 6 or 7 grants 3 years from now instead of.
Yeah.
Right. One thing I'd like to point out, just for grins, is that the other half of that money, half of it comes back to us. The other half of that money goes to the World Fund, which is where we get our matching from the Rotary Foundation. So, it all comes back to us. We get it up front, half of it up front, and half of it when we write our global grants and apply for World Fund matching.
Okay, guys, I gotta go. No, I mean, I got dinner and my husband's like, come on, let's. Yes, Mark, I am sure.
Vincent's dogs are barking and my cats are screaming.
Yeah.